Hello everybody and welcome to another video for Arkham Horror here at Playing Board Games. I'm Justin. I'm going to be going through the Taboo list and the FAQ, which I actually have not looked through yet. This came out a while ago at this point by the time I'm recording and this video gets released, but when I'm on hiatus, I didn't really interact with Arkham too much, and while PBG is still kind of on hiatus, I'm hoping to do a video updating it soon. It's one of those things where we're kind of back, but kind of not back. There's really like no set schedule for anything. So it is what it is. But I'm excited to be here talking about Arkham. So we're gonna go through as I usually do, read the FAQ, see what all is new, and then check out the new Taboo list to see how that all is. If you never checked out one of these before, it's pretty easy. Whatever is red is new. So we're going to go through and try to scroll through and see if we can hit all of the red things that we have here. Okay. Rulebook Errata. Rules reference page 7, column 1, collection. Add the following 2 bullet points. The collection exists outside of the game. Effects that search the collection cannot search in-game areas such as decks or set-aside cards. If a player owns multiple copies of a single product, their collection is still only defined for the purposes of game effects as a single copy of each unique product they own. So this is probably for memories of a past life, so you can't get 5 sled dogs. That's like why that's why that exists, right? Which I think is a logical errata here. I think this all kind of checks out, you know. But to me, this was kind of like a yadoy. Like, of course, this is how this was supposed to be. I mean, like, more power to them. I mean, I think it's a good thing to clarify and have, but obviously I think this was, like, most of the time when we talked about getting a 5th sled dog, I think it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, a little bit silly. I honestly, I think you could still do it if you wanted to, just for fun, but you can't do it by the official rules, which is good. Rules reference, page 16, column 2, permanent. Add the following bullet point. A permanent card cannot have its text box blanked or treated as if it were blank. Okay. So if there was like a treachery card effect that was like treat all assets as if their text box was blank, permanents would be like, nuh-uh-uh, I do my own thing. Because then it would lose the permanent keyword itself. That does break the game. If this was a digital client, once you discarded your charisma into your discard pile, the game would crash. You would just see your Tommy Muldoon be like, and then like start glitching, and like part of him would start fading away. Yeah, that checks out. Okay. I mean, I care more about the rules questions because I like to try to quiz myself to see what the answer would be. So the errata stuff is pretty on the surface. The In the Deep End achievement should read, after every eligible location has been fully flooded. All right, I'm cool with that. That's just some stuff. All right. A Dream Eater's errata? This card of first effect should read, discard each enemy here, move each investigator here to the Moon Forest, remove this card from the game. What the hell? Off the Galley. This is going to be on like some sort of... It's in Dark Side of the Moon, right? What did it say first? All right. Off the Galley. So it should now say the card's first effect Move each investigator to the Moon Forest. Remove this card from the game, discarding all enemies here. Discard each enemy here. Move each investigator here to the Moon Forest. Remove this card from the game. So this is going to take a big rules head to tell me what the engaged enemies would move with you so they didn't get discarded. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. That this is like, yeah, this is a big rules head that came in and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, all right, that's above my pay grade. I get it, but yeah, that's okay. Oh, cards ones, okay. Ocula Obscura. This card's reaction ability should read reaction after you succeeded a skill test. If no tokens are sealed here and you did not release a token from Ocula Obscura during this skill test. This sounds like another rules Andy thing here. If I had to guess. After you see the skill test, if no tokens are sealed here, seal a non-symbol token revealed during the skill test on Ocula Obscura. Forced, when you would reveal a token from the Chaos Bag, resolve the token sealed here instead, then release that token. It's just a nerf? No, it's not a nerf. It is intention. This is how the card always worked, guys. I know you're going to say it technically doesn't, but this is how it's always supposed to have been. I'm going to just tell you that right now. And yes, it's on the design team to put that text there. But it's like obviously, obviously that was the intention. So like, do yourself a favor and play with the intention. I'm glad they did FAQ it though for those people who can't. I wasn't going to say can't read, because they obviously can read because they're playing it that way. But the people who know they're doing something naughty, they know they're taking a few pieces of candy when they shouldn't. Katarina Sochka, this card's reaction ability should read when you reveal a chaos token. When you would reveal a chaos token. When you would reveal it, has this been changed? There it is. I want to see the original version. Do they not have the original version here? I was like, something ain't right here. That's okay. I don't care too much. Slither in the Darkness. This card's force ability should read Slither in the Darkness moves directly to the flooded location. The original's on the card. When you reveal a chaos token during a skill test you're performing. Oh.
Fatality.
Again, I think I've talked about this in the past. By the way, Navvasky, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Much appreciated. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. Like, I think I've said this in the past, where I feel like there should be more kind of... There needs to be like a set of outside eyes on the cards to check stuff out. To like just like have that like final pass. Like someone not on the design team or even the playtesting team. Like some random person they hire to just be like, hey, read these cards to make sure everything's good. But like, I don't think that, again... I don't think they needed to errata this. It's just like one of those things where it's just like, it's just... The people who will have the issue with this, I'm going to wager 9 out of 10 times, are the people making an issue out of it. There's like that one person who's playing the card, who has never watched a video, who's never like read an article, who's never put together a deck list on Arkham Build or Arkham DB, who are just looking at this card and being like, why does it say Chaos Tokens? That's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to just do this reaction ability right now. You know? Most people ask this question are being a smartass, but a small percentage are genuinely confused, and they do exist too. Yes, but I'm going to wager that the change for stuff like this is ultimately unnecessary. Like, I think... So what I'm going to basically say is I think that this is not good. I think that you kind of have to let sleeping dogs lie a little bit for this kind of stuff. And I think changes like this and like this... I think the Ocula Obscura one's fine, right? But I think that this is ultimately a waste of everybody's time. By the way, I'm asking, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Those Bezos bucks are going to go a long way. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. All right, Slither in the Darkness. This card's forced ability should read, Slither in the Darkness moves directly to the flooded location. I think I'm going to keep talking about the thing I was just talking about. All right. Forced. Moves directly to the flooded location nearest. Moves directly to the flooded location. Oh, it just says moves and then moves directly. Again, I understand that that's probably why someone had to specify the directly versus not, but that's a pretty minor thing. I think it's just one of those things where, like, I kind of go cross-eyed for that kind of stuff. All right, Beneath the City. This card's force ability should read, immediately advance, do not remove Doom from cards in play. I mean, that's probably an okay clarification to have there. Samuel Blake. Who the hell is Samuel Blake? Oh, that's from a parallel thing. This card's first line should read, replace... Oh, is this the, this is Lola, right? This is Lola's guy. I'm in the wrong category. Lola! Samuel Blake. There he is. So this guy is now replacement peril. Is he no longer hidden? No longer hidden. Interesting. He was otherwise impossible to illegally play because of the rules for hidden. Interesting. Let's look up hidden. Okay. Also, when did this turn green? When a hidden treachery is in your hand... Arkham Build now has rules on their site. That's so unfortunate for Arkham DB. Because I don't think I'm ever going to go here anymore. A hidden card counts toward cannot leave play except by the means described on those cards. Am I going to have to say it again, chat? Am I going to have to... Don't make me say it again. Obviously, you could play this card if it was hidden. It having a way to play it is what makes the way to play the card. It being an asset that you can play is the way that the card describes how it leaves your hand. Stop. Okay, here's the new rule, chat, that for everyone in the community, stop emailing FFG. Stop emailing them rules questions. All right. Rulings and clarifications. Okay. Additional costs. Additional costs are not paid when a mandatory instruction, such as in the campaign guide or on the back of an act or agenda card, requires an investigator to resolve the effect. This is fixing like Amanda and Justify the Means, but it used to be any forced effect doesn't pay additional costs. But I have a question. Why did this not specify force then? Because to me, this just reads campaign guide. Like, this just basically means like encounter card or like campaign guide, but not like player cards. To me, I don't see how this changed. Right, they edited out forced. What did it, so did it used to say for forced? So I'm confused, chat. I'm confused of what the fuck you're talking about. I'm confused. All right, we need to open up an old FAQ. FAQ, what are we on now? This is 2.4. I want to go like 2.3. I need to look up an old one. Yeah, but I need to see, like, so the problem is right now I don't know what the old one was. What page is this? 8? That 8. There, let's look at this. This is 1.6. Additional costs do not have to be paid when a forced effect or mandatory instruction requires an investigator to resolve an effect. Additional costs are not paid when a mandatory instruction requires... Okay, so they had to be paid when it's forced as well. Okay. So this is my own personal preference for these kind of things. I would rather have it said additional costs must be paid even when it's forced. Unless that is found on, like, in the campaign guide, act, or agenda. It is good. I mean, I thought the Amanda thing was kind of silly. So it's probably better that you can't do that with that kind of thing. So the Trace, the changes is with Amanda and Justify the Means. You didn't have to do that before. Okay. Limbo. I read the first sentence of this ruling, and I was like, no duh. Limbo is not a physical game area. While in Limbo, a card is typically placed on the table to show that the effects are currently being resolved unless it's attached to another game element in which it remains in its current position. Did I ever tell you about the guy who I got into like a little bit of a, I'm going to say, heated conversation with in the YouTube comments because he thought that cards getting discarded, that basically when you committed a card to a skill test, it counted as discarding a card for your hand for positive effects, but not negative effects. I mean, like, we have the first thing to talk about there, right? Which is, like, committing skill cards does not cause the skill card to be, like, discarded from your hand. It's placed in your discard pile. That was a great conversation. I'm very curious about why this ruling is here. I mean, I think it's probably good to say. Limbo is a very... to be fair, I had a new player thinking that exactly that committing cards from hand triggered George effects until I explained. But here's the question, Volkloss. Do you think that same person would have had that thought process when it came to, say, for example, the hunt, like the miasma who engages in attacks on discard in Hemlock Vale? Because that's always my beef. Like, maybe this is a good person. This is maybe it's a good person. And, you know, they don't understand the rules, right? But I always feel like these people come in with advantageous rulings as opposed to realistic rulings. Yeah, no, this is obvious. It's good. I mean, it's good to say, I suppose. It's good to have there. Oh, this one. It's fucking huge. There's so much red here. All right, I'm excited. Gaining, spending, and forfeiting actions. Any unused actions forfeit at the end of investigator's turn. Sorry. Any unused actions are forfeited at the end of the investigator's turn. Okay. We gain them during 4.2, and they're discarded during there. Okay. The whole action thing is very, very interesting to me. It's one of those things where I understand why it's ruled, but to me it's always like, it's just like, you just have 3 actions. Like, it's like one of those things where, like, I don't know where they come from. I don't know when they go, but I'm happy they're here. So I guess this is nice. I remember something like this being in the last one, though. Maybe they just tweaked it, obviously, because it's red. Costs and restrictions during the initiation sequence. The initiation sequence? What's that? I'm learning something new today. When a player wishes to trigger this ability or play a card, the player first declares his or her intent. There are 2 preliminary confirmations that must be made before the process of initiating an ability or playing a card. Check play restrictions. Determine the costs. So this is just like playing a card or doing an ability. Okay. Okay. When checking play restrictions and costs to determine whether a card may be played or an ability triggered, if the card or ability in question itself modifies those restrictions or costs during initiation or resolution such that they are able to be met or paid prior to taking effect. All right, let's try that again. This is a long sentence. When checking play restrictions and costs to determine whether a card may be played or an ability triggered, if the card or ability in question itself modifies those restrictions or costs during initiation or resolution such that they are able to be met or played prior to the taking effect, the preliminary confirmations are considered to have been successfully fulfilled. That is no, I understand the example. I see Spectral Razor in there. This is for the engage thing. But that is one of the longest. It's impressive. It's honestly impressive that sentence exists. They nailed it. I mean, it does make sense when you get through it, but I'm honestly kind of just like super impressed that is a thing. that sentence was crafted by a human. It reminds me like Concoss. I did a philosophy of logic class in college. And I was like, this professor is saying more words than I thought was feasibly possible in one sentence. And I felt like I was taken back there. I feel younger, and I feel great. All right, investigator may play Spectral Razor targeting an unengaged enemy with aloof on the condition that they do subsequently fulfill the fight actions restriction. Yes. Easy. Yes. I think that's a good thing to say. I think that's a good thing to have in here. And again, mad props to whoever wrote that. You made a crazy fucking paragraph of a sentence. Enemy attachments with Victory X. If a card with Victory X is attached to an enemy and that enemy is defeated, the attachment is placed in the victory display instead of the usual out-of-play area corresponding to its card type. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's how it should work. Yeah. Good. Standalone scenario setup. Most campaign scenarios contain additional instructions for playing the scenario in standalone mode, which can be found at the end of the scenario's normal setup instructions. These may be used in place of simulating campaign resolutions in order to determine setup for a standalone game. Isn't that crazy that that's like how you were supposed to like play standalone in like the core set was you were like you... But I mean, I suppose you also could just do it as you want, as you go through to simulate resolutions. If a scenario lacks these additional instructions, players may instead choose, prior to the game start if possible, or as relevant during gameplay otherwise, what details have been recorded in their temporary campaign log. When assembling the Chaos Bag, do not use the campaign setup instructions. As an optional rule, players may then increase quantities of the Mythos tokens or any other campaign-specific symbol contained in the Chaos Bag. Okay. Yeah, just do it. Just play it. I think it's good to have here. I think that the scenario setup instructions when they didn't have standalone scenario things were always a little bit hard to kind of like put together and grasp, but I think it's a good thing to have clarified here. Weaknesses with player card types. Unlike other player cards that are not affiliated with any class, weakness cards with player card types are not considered to be neutral cards. All weaknesses, regardless of the primary card type, do not interact with player card class system or an investigator's deck building options. Perfect. Scenario effects on investigator decks. A scenario may instruct an investigator to add a card to their deck. Unless the instruction includes the word may, the investigator must add that card to their deck. This effect cannot be cancelled or ignored and is not restricted by an investigator's deck building options. Okay. All good. These are all good clarifications. Purchasing player cards with deck building effects. When purchasing cards between scenarios, each card is purchased one at a time. If a card is purchased that has abilities that affect deck building, upgrading, or purchasing cards, those abilities immediately come into effect for the current purchasing period. When you purchase adaptable... Cool. Yeah. I mean, this all checks out too. I think that's a good clarification as well to have. You don't buy in bulk, you buy piecemeal. So I think that's a nice thing to have all put together there. Variable difficulty skill tests. Oh, yeah, of course. I read that first paragraph, and yeah, this is how it is. While performing a skill test whose difficulty is modified based on another aspect of the game, that difficulty changes whenever the corresponding aspect status does. If an ability or game effect checks the variable difficulty, most commonly during a skill test step 6, to determine whether the test succeeded or failed, the value of that difficulty is set for the effect in question and is not reevaluated if the variable difficulty continues to change. Okay, so just going through this example, let me actually just get this card on the screen. So with this one, they're saying for this first one, if you had 5 or more cards in hand at the start of the test, but you commit a card to be the 4th card, you would reduce it down to 2. But if you committed no cards, but you fail the test, but you drop below after the token has been drew. So basically, like, everything before the token pull is variable. When the token is pulled, it's locked in, baby. That's like the that's like when things are gonna come in for that. Oh, never mind. The test difficulty would update to 2, but the successor failure. Okay, I was wrong with what I just said. That's why we read ahead, folks. So it drops there, but you still technically fail. So I suppose then if you failed, but it would have a how much you fail by, then the variable effect would actually matter. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I'm down for it. So you could fail by -1. Revealing and flipping locations. If a location is revealed, then it leaves play and later re-enters play and is revealed again, place clues on it up to its clue value, as if there were the first time an investigator has revealed this location this game. If a location with 2 revealed side flips without leaving play, do not place or replenish clues on the location within its flip unless otherwise stated. Okay, good. This is something that I also, believe it or not, everybody, I had a little bit of a tiff with in a YouTube comment in the past. So good to have this ruled that way. As if. Unless otherwise stated, an investigator's threat area is not inherently altered during the resolution of the indicated ability or action. For example, if you are engaged with an enemy prior to resolving an ability as if you are at a connecting location, that enemy remains engaged with you and will still make attacks opportunity, even though it does not leave your shared... Of course, of course. This is the way. This is... So is the shortcut Luke Robinson trick dead? I don't think so. This just is about the threat area. I don't think this changes the Luke Robinson thing. Where are you getting that holy helicopter? Interpreting you when taking or being dealt damage in horror. When an ability refers to you in response to taking damage or horror, or being dealt damage or horror, it also includes any assets you control. I'm trying to think of why this would matter. I think it obviously matters all the time. For when you take damage from the Mythos phase, you are dealt damage. But like this would now be... They only said they added horror to it? But from my own understanding, if I had the weakness that was whenever I took damage, I take a horror. If I use Beat Cop, I take a horror, right? If I use Beat Cop's ability. Yes, correct. I think they need to change that rule. I think that rule is not good. I think that is a bad counterintuitive rule. I think that should be changed. Maybe not changed like that, but like going forward, have be like... I feel like player card effects should not trigger those things. It's bad for understanding, but good for not breaking other things in the game. I disagree. I know, yeah, I know it's been this way for a bit as well, but I think that I don't think that's good for the game. I think it's actually bad. I think that it's actually a bad ruling to have for that. And this is coming from the guy who loves the who actually likes the singular versus split for if you fail effects. I think that this one's not great. Like, I'm okay with when I take damage, if I put it on the beat cop. When I put it on the beat cop, it deals the damage, the horror to me from that weakness. But it should not happen when you do your own player card effects. What's that weakness called? Hypochondria? Yeah. I think this should be like after you take. So like, I understand. I think this ruling all makes sense in terms of like what's written here. But I think a card like this, if they do design effects like this going forward, it should say after you take 1 or more damage from an encounter card. I don't live in a world. But what would happen with a blue spell that deals yourself damage? What do you mean? Like, I just believe that those effects should not trigger these negative effects. And my reason for it is, my thought process for why I feel this way is actually relatively simple. I just don't think you want to feel bad players when they learn things like that. I've done a lot of patron game days, and when people find out a rule that is counterintuitive and also negative for them, they get very upset. I feel like it's just one of those things where it doesn't build. I've actually talked about this in the past before as well. I think it ultimately leads to alienation of players in the long term. I'm trying to grasp this. If I have B-Cop 2 and I have a spare mass, do I get an offering? Yes, you would. Like, again, I think that this is a clear... I think this is clear, and it's... The intention behind it is all good, but I think there should be some sort of line between... I like this rule because always yes is easy to remember. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think it's actually, I think it's less intuitive, right? I think it's less intuitive. But I know that Marvel Champions has also have huge issues with the word you. And I feel like Arkham should have just separated. I don't buy into this, that the beat cop deals you horror. Hey, Janita, how's it going? Yes, I know the you thing in Marvel Champions was a nightmare. I never read it because I don't follow that game religiously. I just play based on vibes as well. Yeah, no. I don't think they're going to change it. And I mean, I also realistically don't think they should change it. I'm just one guy. But if I was in their shoes, I would. And I'm just going to say that. And I'm gonna be real. If someone beat cops with a hypochondria in play, I ain't going to ruin their day. Because I think in my opinion, it's bad. I say when you take damage to trigger, and if any player cards deal damage to yourself or player card, it should be different. I agree. I agree. When was this added? I wonder what FAQ this was added in. No, I think the easy thing is just make it by an encounter card. I just think player cards shouldn't trigger it. Alright, farthest from all investigators. Some card effects instruct investigators to put a card into play at the location farthest from all investigators. This is determined by finding the location from which is the shortest distance by movement to any investigator is the highest out of all eligible locations. In event of a tie, as usual, the lead investigator decides. I love this as usual here because it's a little bit sassy, you know? For example, location A is 5 connections away from investigator A and 1 connection away from investigator B. Location B is 3 connections away from investigator A and 4 connections away from investigator B. Location B is therefore farthest because its distance nearest the investigator is greater than that of location A. This is true even though location A is farther from investigator A. Yes, that's all easy stuff. How's it going, Jammer? This is a meaningful change. It's quite different from what it used to be. This one makes more sense, though. Add them up, baby. I'll be real, though. I feel like I never really fucked this rule up. Isn't there an Arkham rule where you're supposed to make the worst decision for your team in case of tiebreakers? No. So there's something called the Grim rule, which I'm going to say has been altered heavily by both sides. Side A says that the Grim rule implies to only when you are in the game and then you figure out what's supposed to happen afterwards. You actually look up the rule afterwards, which is technically how it's supposed to be, right? The Grim rule is only if you want to make a quick decision during the game. But some people argue that it's used to solve all problems regardless. And then there's people who get angry and say, no, it's only supposed to be for when you're outside of the game. But then there's some people in that category that take it to the nth degree and try to solve everything as opposed to just going outside and getting some fresh air. So it's one of those things where kind of it's like, yeah, it's the Grim rule exists, but it's not really a thing. But at the same time, I do think what Heli Helicopter here is saying, Grim rule isn't for seeking the truth, but for saving time in the moment. But at the same time, for you personally, maybe somebody should out there, if you're listening and you think that's crazy, that you have to Grim rule everything, maybe Grim rule is for seeking the truth. Just don't think so hard about stuff. There's a lot more that matters in life than weird Arkham rulings. Treachery and event subtitles. Treachery and event cards do not have a header for their subtitle. If the title is of a treachery or event card contains one or more words in parentheses, that is considered to be its subtitle. Okay. Ignore all costs. They're changing this one again, huh? Some cards like Knowledge's Power or Word of Woe allow an investigative player card or activate ability on an asset ignoring all costs. These effects only ignore the activation costs of an ability such as action costs, resource costs, spending uses, etc. In other words, anything written before the colon. They do not ignore additional costs that must be paid when resolving the ability or otherwise written after the colon. These must be paid as normal. Effects or costs that exile a card. The exile one is new. Effects or costs that exile a card and remove a card from a game cannot be ignored. So this is for the guy. This breaks that deck that Eric and I did a video of, right? For what's his name? The Homunculus? Because we had that deck. I mean, I even said in the video for that deck that it likely won't stand the sniff test over time, but right now it does. That should be mentioned later directly. Okay. I won't get ahead of myself. Synergy and neutral cards. Cards with the synergy traits do not consider neutral cards player cards when identifying the number of different classes among an investigator controls. Who sent this email? Who did this? Who sent that email? How do you guys deal with missing certain actions effects? For example, someone forgot to take damage that would have been fatal, but we only catch it 3 rounds later. I would probably have taken the damage and killed the player if I was playing that one. I think in that case, if missing damage that I realized was fatal, but 3 rounds later, I would just be like, all right, guys, I'm dead. Sorry. Like, that's how I would do that. You kind of just have to, like, call it as, like, you would. Like, you have to, like, take each situation individually. Try to rewind it as much as you can, but don't stress too much, right? Dying's a pretty big one, though. Memories of Another Life. Memories of Another Life can only search the collection for a chosen card. It cannot search any in-play or out-of-play area involved in the current game, and it cannot create a new copy of a card that does not exist physically within your collection. Okay. Memories of Another Life cannot search for a copy of a customizable card that committing investigators already upgraded, such as a card is no longer level 0 for that investigator. It can play a level 0 card that has been chained via the list of taboos. A card played by Memories of Another Life can be placed in the victory display or any other eligible out-of-play area by an ability or game effect. Get Memories of Another Life? Play Delve Too Deep 5 times, baby. You paid yourself back. Massive enemy attacks. A massive enemy that is ready during the enemy phase attacks each investigator's location one at a time in an order determined by the lead investigator. Because it engages with each investigator's location, these attacks occur outside the standard timing of enemy attacks, which are usually resolved in player order. While resolving a massive enemy's attack, if an investigator becomes engaged with the enemy, the investigator will be added to the list of targets that the enemy will perform an attack against. If a massive enemy exhausts before resolving all of its attacks, it does not initiate any remaining attacks. I think this is... It makes sense. I would have loved if they changed the enemy attack step to have a step that was specifically massive enemies attack. I think that would be, like, the way that it happens. Just, like, have it... Even just in this one, just say, like, massive enemies attack first before any other enemy attacks. Right? Just for further clarity. But I think at the same time, they're also kind of hand-waving to be like, just let them attack when you want to let them attack. Card type categories for keycards. A keycard changes card category based on its bearer controller. While attached to an investigator or story asset controlled by an investigator, key is a player card. Otherwise, key is a scenario card. Okay, now we're in the FAQ. This is my favorite part. Honestly, the errata and rule clarifications, though, they don't really make me get up, even though we have been talking about them for 47 fucking minutes. It'd be so funny if there were none in here. Oh, there's so many. I'm so excited. I love these ones. Okay. What happens with an enemy with the patrol keyword is already at its target location at the start of the enemy phase? It does not move. If patrolling to the target location at the start of the step 2, that enemy does not move. All right. 1 for 1 so far, chat. When playing testing sprint, do I stop investigating when I feel one time or when I finish succeeding or failing to investigate each eligible location? You stop when you fail one time. If you fail one investigate test before you investigate each eligible location, you do not continue investigating. 2 for 2. I've done it. Can George Barnaby's hand size be modified further beyond what his ability states? Yeah, why couldn't it be, right? You can just play a laboratory assistant. Yes, while George Barnaby's ability sets his base maximum hand size to be equal to the number of face-down cards beneath him, this value can be modified by other abilities, example, Arcane Enlightenment or Pelt Shipment. What happens if Lost Homunculus attempts to exile a card from their deck? So, it gets exiled now. Exiling a card or removing a card from the game cost cannot be cancelled or ignored. Therefore, the Lost Homunculus will successfully exile the card in question. Note that if they do so, they are not able to purchase any cards when the scenario ends. They have no defined legal deck size to maintain. So that video that Eric and I made, the deck is now bunk, but the alternate deck that Eric wanted to make is something we could do, which would be fun to revisit, to be real with all you. If I only resolve the Surge keyword on a Treachery, can I still play Fool Me Once and attach the Treachery to it? Ooh. That's a great question. Yeah, because Surge is an effect on a Treachery. Yes. Resolving the Surge keyword on a Treachery can count as resolving an effect on the card. If I exile the last copy of an upgraded customizable card from my deck, would it retain those upgrades if I repurchase the card? Wow. If I exile the last copy of an upgraded customizable card from my deck, would it retain those upgrades if I purchase the card? Wow. I would say no. Because they're paired. No. Maybe. Oh. This opens up a whole new can of worms, in my opinion. I'm gonna say you don't keep the upgrades. And my thought process behind this is that I actually feel the upgrade card, the upgrade sheet, is what the experience goes into for these cards. And I know that might seem silly, but I feel like that's the specification of what the XP is in your deck is on that upgrade sheet. And when you lose the last card, the upgrade sheet goes away and it resets. No. If all copies of a customizable card are removed from your deck, any upgrades on the upgrade sheet are also removed. If those cards are later repurchased, treat them as newly purchased cards with blank upgrade sheets. Okay. That one's a strange one. But I feel like the intention is that you own, even though the upgrade sheet isn't real, it's like linked to them. It's like that is the card that you put into your deck. It's like a permanent that has like bonded cards, and those bonded cards get shuffled into your deck during setup, and those bonded cards count towards your deck size. Oh, that's complicated, but I feel like that's what it is. That's weird. If I have 2 copies of an upgraded customizable card in my deck and exile one of them, what would be the experience cost to repurchase that card? Wow. Well, if you have upgrades on your sheet, you could buy it with the upgrade like you could otherwise. But what if it had 10 check marks on it? Could you spend 1 XP to add that card into your deck? My gut says no. You have 2 options to repurchase an exiled customizable card. Either paying the cost of the card is indicated by... Oh, okay, that makes sense. Either paying the cost of the card is indicated by its upgrade sheet, or if you're able, spending experience on the card's upgrade sheet to add a copy of that card for free to your deck. So does that mean, in my example, if I had all 10 check marks, I would need to spend 10 XP to put that card into my deck? $5 XP? Does it cost 10 or 10 divided by 2? I think it's 10. Chad, I actually think it's 10. That one's very wibbly wobbly though. Does Foxmax replenish an offering when an enemy moves with me? No, of course it doesn't. Fox masks, to replenish an offering, there must be an enemy remaining at the location you moved out of. Does an enemy exhaust when an effect causes it to attack as if it were the enemy phase? What about an effect that causes an attack without that text? Yes, this one we already know. This one's an easy one. Yes, if it attacks if it was the enemy phase, they exhaust. Otherwise, they do not. Fox mask question is wild. You'd be surprised. This one is actually, like, I think I've seen a lot of people interpret it the way that it's ruled to not be that way, which I think I understand why, but come on. Yeah, we know this one. Yes, if an enemy attacks before the enemy phase, it will exhaust after attacking. However, an effect causes an enemy to attack without the phrasing, that enemy does not exhaust after attacking. If I initiate a skill test at a given location, then trigger an effect that caused me to move for the test finish, what happens to that skill test? This one's tricky. So an easy example of this is like pathfinding during an investigation with Rex Murphy. You start the investigation, you move to a connecting location, you're investigating that location, but any other effects that trigger would trigger on your new location. So Rex's ability would discover a clue at his location, if that's what his ability does. It's been a hot minute. I forgot everything during the hiatus. That's what I'm going to say. So you get the, like, say for example, there was like discover a clue at your location and then like investigate. You would grab a clue from the successful investigate from the location you started the test on, and then you would discover a clue with your ability at the location that you're currently standing on. Once you initiate a skill test or ability, resolve the test or ability as completely as possible regardless of your location unless another effect cancels or interrupts it. For example, if you attacked an elusive enemy with 1-2 punch, you could attack the same enemy with the card's second fight, even though it is moved to a connecting location. This one has probably mistaken the example. Yeah, I probably only should mention the levels. Sorry? 1, 2. You may fight that enemy again. You may fight again. I think they're both fine. It's assuming that you're on the location with the enemy for the second fight, but I think that was kind of, to me, at least inferred for both of them. I think it's more obviously with the level 0 one, but you can make a... I think it's both fine. It's just assuming that you're at the location with the other guy, right? That enemy is what makes you able to hit a guy from afar? Yeah, but what if you move with the enemy? Because this one's not talking about the enemy moving. This one's talking, I think, like, the example is weird because it's talking about the enemy movie, but, like, that causes me to move before the test finishes? I think it's because it's a new target requirement? What are you talking about? Level 5 card is the issue. Chat, you guys don't know what I'm saying. And if you're going to have a conversation with me, you got to make sure you understand what I am saying. I'm telling you, this is, with this rule right here, it works with both of them. If I move during the test and I move into the only location that elusive enemy can go with, it goes with both. I feel like they have not the example that the 1-2 punch is wrong. It's that this example is describing an enemy moving, not me moving. Then holy helicopter, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I was going with this. You say, okay, this is the problem with conversations over Twitch chat. I'm just gonna move on because I'm honestly just annoyed. You say that there's a problem with 1-2 punch in the example. I say, no, if you move, that's fine, because this is what this is about. And then you say, no, the problem is that they're using elusive. Get your facts straight before you have a conversation with somebody, brother. The problem is this. The card changed the target rules for engaging in a fight? No, it doesn't. 1-2 punch, assuming you move with the guys, which is what this conversation has started as for the FAQ here. I think that their example is just, it's mixing it up. They're talking about the enemy moving when this question is about the investigator moving. You can fight the same enemy with both the 1-2 punches. The Rex example was clear for what the question actually asked. Yes, that's the problem, is they have this weird, like, elusive enemy answer. This example is for what happens if an enemy leaves your location, not what the question is asking. So the Rex example is the way. But for the Rex answer, that checks out. If I play or take control of another investigator's customizable card, does that card retain its upgrades? This was before no, right? But now it's yes. That is a good change. This is how we played it back when we did the Carson and Daniela thing. If an effect allows me to play a card at no cost, does that mean all resource costs, additional costs, etc. are ignored? No. Playing a card at no cost only ignores the resource cost. Any additional cost applied to the card must still be paid. This is basically killed memories of another life, right? Like, there are still things you can do with memories of another life, but, like, the card has basically just been castorized, right? It took a lot out of there. Because, like, now you... Am I wrong about that? Can you no longer play... No more doubles with memories. Yeah, Memories of Another Life, as far as I'm concerned, is dead now. That card, that's what made the card. You can still go grab a Leo. Yeah, but, like, why not just, like, play Leo or find actions elsewhere? At least without paying the extra action. Yeah, but I'm not paying 5 XP for that, right? I'll probably find economy or card draw that's pretty comparable. You can still double but spend the action. Yeah, but I think that's not worth it for 5 XP anymore. If my first 1-2 punch 5 kills my first enemy, can I choose another target? Yes, you can. Because you're just fighting again. I think that this is unfortunate. I think it makes sense. I think it's unfortunate for Memories of Another Life, though. Whoopsie! I highlighted that. Well, it's just there permanently now. If I use Katarina Sochka's ability when revealing tokens with Eyes of the Dreamer, does Katarina's ability to ignore unresolved tokens combo with Eyes checking ignored token for a match? That's an interesting question. I would say if you see the chosen token matches an ignored token. It doesn't say, like, ignored this way, so I'm going to say yeah. Yes, a token ignored via Katarina Sochka's ability counts as an ignored token for Eyes of the Dreamer's ability. How does Glimpse of the Void interact with the other abilities that reveal tokens? That's such an open-ended question in the FAQ. The first time you reveal one or more tokens. So if it's part of the first time you're revealing, you reveal more. Glimpse of the Void causes you to reveal and resolve one additional token on top of any you would normally reveal and resolve by for the test of the effect. This token is targeted, chosen, or ignored separately from other tokens. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Honestly, this is some pretty obvious questions, but some very interesting ones too. Feast of Hemlock Vale. Are the preludes in Feast of Hemlock Vale considered the same game or a different game, the scenarios played after them for the purpose of setup or once per game abilities? I actually don't even know how I would answer this one. Same game, so max once. I mean, that makes sense with like kind of treating it as an agenda 0. That does check out. Okay, that's it for the FAQ. Now we can finally talk about these taboo cards. I will say I'm not going to go too detailed into this, mostly because we're going to do a video, Travis, Brent, and I, where we talk about the taboo list cards. I think it's going to be more fun to do that with them, so we're going to be doing that. But we'll kind of give these like a little thing to look at here. Monster Slayer -2 XP from 5 to 3. Yeah, I think that's a nice change. I think that's pretty good. The card was pretty bad at 5. I did play it in a Lily deck in Drowned City because we got so much XP, and it was actually like very good because there's a lot of high health enemies in Drowned City. But with all that said, I think 3 XP is a lot better for that. Strong Armed is up to 2 XP. I don't know about that one. I thought this card was pretty fine at 1 XP. I don't know how this one... I don't get this one at 2 XP personally. Yeah. But, you know, more power... I don't like taboos like that. I don't feel like that one doesn't really need it. Rod of Carnimagos, they both got 2 XP. Ignoring the red token for damage is pretty strong. Yeah, but what if I told you Seekers could do that at level 0? Right? Like... I don't think it's that... I don't think it's that's that crazy. But that is Seekers. That's not an excuse. Not in 2026 Arkham. I don't know. I think Strong Arm shouldn't have got that change. Rod 0 at 2 XP. How do I feel about that one? Yeah, Rod 0 is... I think this might kill the Rod. I think this kills the Rod for general use. So the thing that I'm a little bit bummed about is I don't see, like, for example, where's that big ass? Like, Flamethrower? I've said in previous videos that I would have loved them to remove some stuff from the taboo list, and it looks like they didn't do that. Rod's still good, I think. Yeah, it's still good, but I think they've kind of just like... I don't know, I think it's a lot worse. I think they could have... I don't know. I think that might kill the Rod. I think Rod is dead. Quick Shot. This is the draw card, right? With the nun with the gun. Holy shit, this now costs 1 XP? It's probably still not good enough, right? It's probably still not good enough. Maybe now. So what I think they should have done is they should have mutated the card and have it drop this text. And then maybe like reduce this by only 1. Comboing the rod with other reveal symbol effects may still be worth it. I mean, it's worth it, but it's like, it's very strong, you know? Like, so when I say it kills the rod, I mean like it kills the rod for general use. I think the rod as a card is dead. The rod as a combo is going to live, but it's only going to be for the combo. I think that's unfortunate. That's what I'm saying too. Oh yeah, no, but like I think because it's such a powerful effect on its own. Yeah, like for sure. But I think Taboo shouldn't be about that, you know? I think they should have just like, it should just be like, I feel like that is kind of just, again, when I talk about like, I really like the Dr. Jeremiah Kirby one and like the David Renfield one, but I don't know about that one. Bum's Rush. What did I give this card for my rating? Hey, thanks for the follow. I gave it a 3. One XP for this. What am I missing with Bum's Rush and it being materially different from Cheap Shot? Is it because you don't have to pass the test for the enemy to move? That's probably the reason for it, right? Yeah, you can still fail and push the enemy. There's nothing linking this to being to success. Yes, Concost, you're reading it wrong. It would be like if you succeed by 2 or more, you may deal that enemy 1 damage and move it to a connecting location. And you may move to a connecting location if it's not elite. They ruled you can move that enemy regardless of the test goes. It's because it's a different, like it's its own thing. It's its own line of text. I guess I can see the logic behind that, but I don't think people are going to be playing this at 1 XP. I feel like there's a misprint of the word then before the last statement. No, I feel like they just... I think design follows the philosophy of make a strong card and then tweak it down, and they made a strong card, but then didn't tweak it down to a level 0 level. Like, I think if this cost 3 resources, it probably would be fine. Okay. Mutated. Wither, my boy! What happened to you, Wither? 157 and 321. Now read Symbol Token instead. If a Symbol Token is read in this attack, the attack enemy gets -1 fight, -1 health, and -1 evade until the end of the phase. Oh my god! Oh my god! My boy, Wither! What the fuck happened to you? You've become, like, really good. Holy shit, that is a change. Like, this is fine, but I'm not playing the level 0 Wither. That's an incredible change. Like, the Symbol Token is fine. The Symbol Token is fine. I don't give a shit about the Symbol Token thing, ultimately, right? But the until the end of the phase is actually incredible. It's such an awkward thing where only being till the turn, that's a great change. The symbol thing, it's fine. It makes it more reliable. Makes it kind of fun to play in Bless Curse decks. Nice. Good change. Ravenous Myconid Sentient Strain. This card's reaction ability now reads, reaction when Investigator draws a non-weakness treachery card if their location shroud is less than his growth. The Ravenous Myconid. Equal to or less is less. So this beats the 0 combo, right? This beats the breaking and entering combo. Not the breaking and entering, bust the door down. What's that card called? I think this is a very healthy change, and probably what this card should have been from the get-go. Breach the door, thank you. But I think that ultimately that was a combo that they just never saw in action. Like, no one ever did it. But I think overall, this is probably what the card should have been. Nice change, though. Spectral Shield. This card's force effect now reads, the first time attached card takes 1 or more damage or horror each round. That's probably a good change. So this reminds me a lot of the Jeremiah Kirby Taboo, where it's like the general use case is still there and still really good, but like kind of like the more busted stuff is a little bit gone. I really like playing with Spectral Shield, though. It's a great combo card. I actually don't like it for survival. I don't take this card to live forever, which is kind of funny because it seemed like that was the intention. But like, this is a combo card, and it's a really cool combo card. I think this is a pretty good change, though. Spiritual Echo. Who's this motherfucker? Did I call this guy Ozymandias? This card gains fast only during your turn. This card's reaction ability now reads, return Spiritual Echo to your hand at the end of your turn and gains limit once per round. What the fuck? This is a new card. Alright, let's look at the original. Sorry, I'm just deep in the tank. I feel like this is just... This kind of reminds me of the Blood of Thoth change, where I feel like there's just too much. Like, I understand that they want to try to do this. But I feel like this could just be the fast, and it probably would be pretty alright. Yeah, so that's the thing. I think this card just probably could have been fast to start with for the Taboo. Library Pass. This card's forced effect now reads, when your turn ends, place attached asset on the bottom of your deck unless you spend. So they basically just got rid of the have to pay, right? Which is probably a good change. Oh, I see what you're saying, helicopter. If it was fast, you could just loop it forever. So that's why there's the delay in returning it to your hand. That makes sense. You can go back and look at that one again. I mean, couldn't they have just, like, done, like, for example, mutated fast, play only in your turn, limit once per turn, and then just kept everything else for the same, except for this weird, like, you may return it to your hand? That would have been a much, yeah, I don't know. The Library Pass one is good. I think that's a good change there for Library Pass. On their heels, the first line of this card gains, if on their heels has no leads, discard it. I don't think that was the problem with this card. I understand the intention is that, like, if you cycle through your deck, you want to see it again. No, but I understand what you're saying, everybody in chat who's saying about, like, that's why it's because it's limit one. I don't think that is the problem with this card. I think the problem with this card is that it's a very bad agency backup. An agency backup is not really played that much anyway. What do you mean problem? This card's ass, man. This card's it's fucking dookie. You can do so much more with your XP and cards in your deck than play this. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think the issue with this card is that part of it. Burn after reading is forbidden. I'm telling you guys, the 3 strongest classes are my 3 favorites. Rogue, Seeker, Survivor. If I was an investigator, I would be a tricolor investigator with those 3 cards with skills. That would be me. Very strong card colors. And, I mean, Burn After Reading is not like the others. I mean, I think Burn After the Reading is a card that probably shouldn't have been made. But honestly, power to it, because that was a design by committee card. Power to the committee that designed that, because a lot of the design by committee cards before that were kind of just ducky. Having a card designed by committee actually be really good. But I do think, yeah, good riddance. I think the card is kind of just boring. I don't think there's anything really fun, even from a power standpoint, about Burn After Reading. Like, to me, Burn After Reading is the card I bring in scenarios 7 and 8 and just get 2 free clues for an action. And that's not necessarily, I think, healthy for the game. So I think making it forbidden is not the only solution, but I think it's the easiest solution. So I'm all for it. We have some new ultimatums and boons as well. We can go through these quickly. Ultimatum of the Spiral, campaign mode only. After investigators defeated, add 1 random basic weakness to their deck. That's fun. Ultimatum of Malevolence, easy or standard difficulty only. When playing, use the hard expert. Official stand hard. I really wish they called this one Ultimatum of Stand Hard, though. I think that would be pretty good. Boon of the Morrigan. When a player would add a random basic weakness to their deck during deck building, they instead draw 3 random basic weaknesses, return one of their choice to the collection, and select one at random from the remaining 2. The selected weakness is added to their deck. That's just a house rule being officially for like that. I think that's kind of neat. Boon of Persephone. Campaign mode only if investigators defeated, they gain 3 additional experience. A repeatable in the thick of it, but that's even better? Calvin Wright? What can I do with you? Ultimatum of the Brass Crown, the Path to Carcosa campaign. If you heeded Daniel's warning is recording your campaign log, at the beginning of each scenario, take 1 horror for each time you spoke, wrote, or typed the name Horby since the end of the previous scenario. That's fun. Ultimatum of the Ambuscade. This is Forgotten Age. After each successful exploration, the performing investigator reveals the top card of the encounter deck. If the revealed card is an enemy, they draw it. Otherwise, they discard it. That's a fucking mean ultimatum. I like it, though. Does it mean like in daily life? It does. It means in daily life. Ultimatum of Spoilage. So this is Drowned City. Investigators cannot trigger abilities or assign damage to artifact assets. If an item asset from an expedition counter set is ever defeated or discarded, it cannot be chosen during the setup for the remainder of the campaign. Well, that's kind of neat. That's funny, Dice Gods. Okay. For example, if playing with the current environment, this would include all player cards and weaknesses from the Scarlet Keys, Feast of Hemlock Vale, and Drowned City. Okay. All player cards from a single cycle count as 1 investigator expansion, including those released across multiple Mythos packs in the same cycle or in the corresponding return to product. Yeah, okay. Okay. Overall, I think Taboo list is... I think the mutations are actually pretty solid for this one. I think I like most of them. Like, I think I'm happy to try out Spiritual Echo with this. I think it is an alright change. I think it's just a little bit much, but I think it's still worth a shot. The Chained, also, I think, for the most part, I think it's pretty neat. I wish they took some stuff off. I wish they took some stuff off for this. Just like small things. Like, I think Flamethrower could go back to 5, right? I think that could have been okay. Usually play those mutated cards in Tabletop Simulator. I actually don't really have a problem playing them with in paper from memory, because you usually only have like 1 or 2 in your deck most of the time. Overall, I think this is a pretty alright Taboo and Errata and FAQ. There were some things that I think were obviously stated, but again, I understand that the FAQ... I understand it's easier to just like state the obvious, right? Because it's just like better that way. Even though to me it was obvious, to someone else they might not be. So I understand why some of those things are there. But it's always fun to read one of these, and this is like the last big like chapter 1. And I believe there are whispers of there being a new way of how they're going to be handling this in the future, which I think is actually kind of neat. If that comes to pass, we'll have to see. But I think I'm hopeful. We'll see. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for hanging out today. I really appreciate all that. And for everyone who's watching on YouTube, I hope you guys enjoyed this random 90-minute long video to not end the hiatus, because I still haven't done the update video. I promise it's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. I don't know when, but we're back to making videos like occasionally, so there will be more Arkham stuff in the future. And I'm hoping to do an actual update in the near future on that. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.